Imagine you're a senior cop, try not to vomit, and imagine that there's a protest coming up in your city. How do you respond? There are three main strategies that police use for crowd control, and if activists understand these strategies, they can overcome them. So the oldest strategy is called escalated force. The police show up to a protest in large numbers, they're heavily armed, and they tell the crowd to disperse. If the protesters stay, then the police will attack the crowd indiscriminately with increasing intensity until everybody flees. Escalated force is common, particularly when the police are surprised or they don't have a trained riot squad. The problem is it easily backfires. When you use indiscriminate violence against a crowd, you will unite all of them against the police, and images of police brutality can sway public opinion in favour of the protesters. So the cops might try a different strategy called negotiated management. That means actually facilitating protests, but with restrictions to stop them from being too disruptive. So the police might try to institute a permit system for demonstrations, and they'll meet with protest organisers ahead of time to negotiate the route, who's speaking and for how long, even what you're allowed to have on banners or say in chants. It's less overtly violent, but negotiated management does have its own risks to protesters. So the negotiations themselves are never an equal playing field. The police can place severe restrictions on your protest to render it completely ineffective, which is their goal. And they can use the negotiations to gather intelligence on protesters. Negotiated management only works if the protesters have a centralised leadership who will cooperate with the police. These days, a lot of police forces have moved on to our third approach, strategic incapacitation. This approach involves identifying problematic individuals or groups within the crowd and focusing violence on that specific group rather than attacking the crowd indiscriminately, as you would see with escalated force. In theory, this targeted violence will be seen as more legitimate and avoid antagonising the wider crowd. Strategic incapacitation involves a lot of surveillance of activists before and during the protest. The point is to identify leaders who can be preemptively arrested to cripple the movement. Strategic incapacitation can resemble negotiated management, but when the cops visit activists' homes or meet with protest organisers, the negotiations are a sham. The purpose is surveillance and intimidation. I've written a lot more about crowd control strategy at the link in my bio, but I'm interested in your thoughts. If something had gone terribly wrong in your life and you became a cop, which strategy would you choose? And if you're a protester, how would you counter it?